Welcome to Friday Morning Dharma on April 18th. Thank you for joining us. Let's begin with some meditation. Please settle into a comfortable meditation posture. Balanced and grounded, stable, with ancient wisdom awareness. Gently acknowledging that the true essence of who you are, the true essence of what you are, is awakened awareness. All that is asked of you is to simply remove that which obscures that awakened awareness. When you're ready, in your own time, please gently transition into meditation on the inner body. Become the silent observer of sensations that may start in your hands and your feet, perhaps the region of your chest, perhaps your face and your cheeks. All that is asked of you is to silently observe like a mountain with consciousness. You are not the mountain, and you are not separate from the mountain. There is no mountain, and there is no exhaustion of mountain. Please continue to silently observe with ancient wisdom awareness. Please gently redirect your awareness. Become aware again of this collection of effects, which we have decided to label physical body, and allow your breathing to become less shallow. Taking deeper and deeper breaths, become aware again of the garments of clothing resting on the surface of physical body. Become aware again of your surroundings inside the room that you're occupying. Deeper and deeper breaths, becoming aware again of the world that exists outside of the room that you are occupying. We dedicate all of the merit from this morning's meditation to world peace. May all beings without exception soon come to enjoy an abundance of pure air and water, delicious, nutritious food, safe, warm, dry, reliable, affordable shelter, and comfortable, functional, attractive clothing. And with everyone's basic needs met, may we all enter and progress on wisdom paths that lead to complete liberation from all forms of suffering. Completely fill up your belly and lungs with air, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your meditation to an end. Thank you. Thank you. So here at Lotus Center, we have a little bookstore, small bookstore of spiritual books out in the reception area. And the source of those books are donations from the community. And a couple of classes ago, you may remember I was talking about kind of like the patriarchal aspect of lots of spiritual doctrines, including Buddhism, and you know, and said that yeah, that there are many important, inspiring, wise women who um, have been on the Buddhist path and have helped form the Buddhist path. And somebody made a donation while I was gone, and lo and behold, one of the books, like on the very top of the stack, The Feminine Face of Buddhism. And a couple of the chapters, one of the chapter is Early Buddhist Women. And the next chapter is, I think it's Contemporary Buddhist Women. So this is going to be in the bookstore in the reception area if any of you all have an interest in reading that. And you out of towners, please feel free to, if you'd like it, like get dibs on it, let me know and I'll mail it to you. Or I'll get in touch with our shipping department here at Lotus Center. So yeah, Jeff. Yeah, one and the same. So we are in the book In Love with the World. We are starting our discussion of Milarepa, reviewing his life. Yang Yiming, you'll remember, talked about his boyhood, and Milarepa was his hero. Um, You'll remember, or those of you who have read the story will remember that the story of Milarepa's life begins, at least insofar as presented in the texts, when his father became ill Milarepa was his family was uh, in terms of resources fairly comfortable. His father was a wool trader, traded in wool, WOOL. I didn't realize that until I read the In Love with the World. And Milarepa's father fell ill, gravely ill. And it became clear that he was going to die, that Milarepa's father was going to die. And so he pulled his brother next to him at his deathbed and said, "Please take care of my family. I'm going to entrust you with all of our assets." The family owned land, which kind of in those days constituted, being fairly well off. Um, Please, Milarepa's father said to his brother, please look after my family. Please look after our land. Take, kind of patriarchal stuff I recognize. Um, and make sure that my family is okay. Please, I'm entrusting all of my wealth to you for this purpose. Um, he dies, Milarepa's father dies, and the uh, Milarepa's uncle and aunt kind of keep all of the resources for themselves and um, basically put Milarepa, his sister, and his mom in kind of a bondage situation. They became servants to the aunt and uncle and subjected to all sorts of indignities. Made them sleep outdoors, didn't even give them shelter. This an example in Love with the World is that Milarepa was his uncle made him get on his hands and knees, and then he would use him as a chair to sit on Milarepa. Just yeah, really hard stuff. Um, Understandably, that was difficult for everybody in the family, including Milarepa's mom. And so she persuaded, kind of forced Milarepa to learn black magic in the name of exacting revenge on the aunt and uncle. Um, and a part that's not in the story. There's so many layers, so many details. The story is told by different people, and so you'll hear different parts in one story, but not the other. One of the stories said that Milarepa was reluctant to go and learn black magic for the purpose of exacting revenge, um, and he didn't want to do it. And Milarepa's mom said, if you don't, I will kill myself. I'll kill myself in front of you if you don't do this. And so Milarepa said, what choice do I have? He goes, he learns black magic, comes back to the village. And by the way, not only was the basis of resentment for Milarepa's mom and I guess brother and himself and his sister, not only were the objects of resentment the aunt and uncle, but it turns out that no one else in the village really came to their aid. Like that, come stay with us. We'll put you up. We'll feed you. For whatever reason, those generosities were not extended. So resentment toward the people in the village too. Milarepa comes back. Um, he conjures he conjures a hailstorm through black magic that wipes out the crops of the village, just destroys everything, and then also causes the chapel of so the aunt and uncle, their daughter is getting married, and they have the wedding ceremony in this chapel. Milarepa causes the chapel to cave in such that everyone in the chapel is killed, except the aunt and uncle. So they're left to grieve over the loss of all of their loved ones who were in the chapel. Really, really dark, heavy stuff, heavy karmic consequences. Milarepa kind of comes to realize, kind of has an awakening, if you will, and recognizes the kind of the evil that he has invoked, that he has created, and decides that he needs to atone for what he did. And he decides to he decides to find a spiritual path and somehow atone for what he's done. So I will stop the story there. There's a lot more to tell. Um, but what Yangi Mingyur points out in Love with the World is that even up to this point, Milarepa at this point is still a very young man, early 20s, let's say. And um, he's already experienced a number of rebirths. Remember Bardo, intermediate state rebirth? That's kind of a central theme of In Love with the World. He was he was kind of a boy, just a boy and a son leading a normal boy's life. That life ended. There was a death, and he became a servant. Yeah, he became a servant. Um, that life ended, and he became a magician, a a, a magician of black magic. Um, that self died, and he becomes a spiritual seeker. And I think I told you I've got a DVD of the life of Milarepa, and and that's the title, The Life of Milarepa, but the subtitle is um, Magician, Murderer, Saint, and just so powerful. I start to get choked up just thinking about his story, but keeping it within the context and the central theme of In Love with the World, there is sort of like, as we've talked about before, the ultimate kind of the air quote around the word ultimate rebirth of the end of this life and the becoming of the next life. But there are lots of deaths and rebirths that we experience in this life, and not even limited to the monumental ones described in Milarepa's life. I want I would invite you to think about what your life would look like. What would it be like if you leaned into this notion of death, rebirth over and over in this lifetime? What would that look like? What would it be like if you came to regard your human experience as a series of death and rebirths, kind of an ongoing continuum of deaths and rebirths? We've all gone through huge transformations, I know. We've all gone through really, really significant changes. And I was sort of thinking about, like, is there one sort of life identity, one sort of identity that is constant throughout a person's life? And after they take that rebirth, is there anything that's constant? And one that I came up with, I'm not saying it's the only one, is being a mother or father. Yeah. Once a woman becomes a mother, they're a mother for the rest of their life. But they're not the same mother, right? They're like, and I should probably turn this over to Jill and Martha and Blanca and all, Diana, all the mothers on this call. There are new mothers, right? There are experienced mothers, empty nest mothers, exhausted mothers, energized and vibrant mothers, yeah, grateful mothers. Yeah. So there are even deaths and rebirths within this constant of being a mother. That's just kind of a interesting notion, I think. I believe that there is great value, great benefit in coming to recognize that this experience, this human experience, is an ongoing continuum of deaths and rebirths, and to think about what the benefits would be if we could lean into that. One is if we recognize that we've died and been reborn countless times, when the end of this life, the big life comes, we won't be so scared. And the question of Yongey Mingir's dad, what will you do in the bardo? Like the answer might be, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I've gone through this many times. Hopefully we'll be at a place where we're off the karmic wheel at that point and won't experience another rebirth. But to the extent we are, like, okay, I've experienced this before. And yeah, I I'm going to be good with this. I'm not going to be terrified. I'm not going to lose my mind in the bardo, right? The other more immediate and really important, and I'm going to plead with you to really take this to heart, is that I think it's a very powerful, very effective, accessible way to overcoming attachment. If we just recognize that over and over and over, this identity, this self that we identify with, and all of the features of it, they're just changing constantly over and over and over, and not just the big ones, not going from being like, the death of being an employed person to the rebirth as a retired person. No, just like the Jeff of this morning has died. And the Jeff of this moment, the Jeff who woke up this morning has passed on. And now there's a new Jeff here, you know. And the Jeff of this moment is going to pass on, and there's going to be a new Jeff that's reborn this afternoon. Maybe that's not tangible enough. How about just waking up in the morning? Like the death takes place when we go to sleep. The death of the Frank of that day is gone. And in the morning, tomorrow morning, a new Frank is reborn. Same with all of us. I would invite you to use your imagination to think of different ways you can recognize this continuum of death, rebirth, death, rebirth. Think about how your life might change if you really leaned into it, really made it a cornerstone of your spiritual life. Okay, you guys, happy Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks so much, Jeff.
You're most welcome.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jeff.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.